Record? We're recording this time officially. No, we're good. We're recording.
Hi, it's confused Samantha.
And it's Mason.
And you know it's good when you hear right company. So we're back with the right company for you bitches in 2021. And this right company, just be prepared to hear all the reasons why just so I don't know if you want to do this or should I do this. Before we get into the talk about TharnType season 2, I feel like we need to do a little bit of housekeeping in terms of why, with a show that we both pretty much understand that we don't like, we would even do this review to begin with.
I don't know why we're doing this. I guess
Okay.
it's just like we need to eventually talk about the shitty sequels that we keep getting. And I would argue that this is the worst one. I would say that this is worse than A Chance to Love, which I can explain later, or I can explain now if you want.
I think that you could explain it now because I think a lot of people are looking at that statement and thinking, this bitch is high. So you need to tell them why it is that this is worse than Love by Chance, which all the things were wrong with Love by Chance season 2.
So everything sucks about Love by Chance season 2 so much that it kind of shoots the moon and comes back a little bit to where I feel like in a year we could look back and be like, man, remember when that show came out? That was fucking terrible. You know, and we'll have like a laugh about it. Whereas I feel like TharnType 2 will just be like, no, fuck that show forever and ever. Like,
Yes.
it's not as bad objectively as A Chance to Love. It's better made. I think like just like it looks better, the makeup's better, you know, you don't have random production people in the background that you can see. But it's also more boring. Like A Chance to Love was at least so bad it kind of became camp, almost like a Showgirls, but TharnType is just bad. It's bad, it's forgettable. I would officially like to charge, I want to send a bill to MAME. So when I write my bill to Joe Biden saying, hello, please give everyone $2,000, thank you. After that, I'm writing my bill for MAME for my time and money back.
I understand your feelings. I would say that both properties are absolute dumpster fires at this point. And when it comes to dumpster fires, it's hard to distinguish which one is burning tires and which one is burning shit. So I feel kind of like they're in even spaces for different reasons. Love by Chance season 2 almost feels worse to me than TharnType because it leaves the door open for a season 3, which no one in the universe needs. Uh, but TharnType 2 just utterly decimates a property that already was like problematic, but despite its problems, was charismatic and interesting to watch. And this just kind of just killed it. I don't know who they think is gonna pay for this wedding special, but it ain't gonna be us.
No, I refuse. I refuse to watch the wedding special. I felt cucked at the end of TharnType. You know, I was like, why are we spending all this time on the brother's wedding? I don't care about the brother's wedding. He can die in a hole. He's a creep. I don't like him. What are we here
Yeah. So let us begin. I've taken a few pages of notes here because I didn't want anything that I hated to miss our attention. So let's start with where we normally start our episodes with, because there's no reason to be special for this show. It doesn't deserve it. Synopsis of the series. Mason.
Mm-hmm. So TharnType season 2 is 7 years later, and 7 years, the timeline's weird. It's 7 years after they first got together freshman year. And Type works as like a like a doctor, physical therapist person at a hospital. And Tharn has 800 million jobs, one of them being music producer and standing in the corner bored waiting for Type to come home. So it's
How
essentially,
does a man who works at many jobs have time to sit and wait for his man to come home? I don't understand.
I don't understand either. It's basically about them. They're adults now, and it's like many episodes of them. If you can't tell, the plot's very sparse. Type has like a guy is crushing some like kid from that like was his patient is like mad crushing on Type. Um, and also there's a doctor who's been in love with Champ, one of Type's friends, for like 7 years, and like they have a budding romance now, and that's it.
Okay, so let's start with the first issue. This show should not be called TharnType to 7 Years of Love. It should be called Type Tharn 7 Years of Emotional Stunning, because they are in the same place 7 years later that they were in the first part of the first season. Like
Yeah.
not even after the whole long thing happened. Like this has been before that.
Mm-hmm.
And also like this show is all about Type. Tharn is an accessory. He is a side character, and it is infuriating because this show could not have been made if it wasn't for how hard Mew carried season one. And I know there's going to be a lot of people to say, well, Golf did his job too. I don't know why you're saying it's all about Mew. The thing is, Mew is the more experienced actor. He gave a lot to the chemistry for Mew and Golf. I think his presence made Golf a more confident actor in the long run. And because of that, it just really is frustrating to me that they treat him as if he doesn't matter. He didn't count. He's just there. Um, and it's super obvious how much better an actor Mew is, because there is a crying scene that Golf has in this show that Mew would never. Mew would never. And so that's the reason why I say like it really is awful. Whatever the personal vendetta is that Mame has against Mew, it's awful the way that they treated him in this series.
Mm-hmm. He
I
literally does nothing. He sits around for 12 episodes.
Well, he does things. He pouts. He begs for sex. He begs for kisses. He begs to be married. He begs. He begs. He begs the whole time. He begs. He insists that he is nothing without Type. He'll do anything for him, even lose his own dignity. And one thing that I found really interesting, and you tell me if you notice this, the actor who plays Golf, or the actor who plays Type Golf, he sometimes initiates kisses. But when it comes to like putting hands on people, kissing down people's chest, some of the more like deep skinship moments, those
Mm-hmm.
are all Mew.
Yeah.
And I know that this may be a stretch. And I don't want to assume anything because nothing's been officially said. But there have been whispers and talk that Mew may be queer. And it feels to me like season two is them basically using the queer actor in order to have steamy scenes, but not actually caring about his career and who he is as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest symbol of that for me was the bed scene they had in episode 11, which I don't understand how a couple who could make an ice cube sexy in season one can have both their shirts off, crawling around in bed, and make it feel icky and gross and just uncomfortable for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
I don't know. It is weird that like, man, season one, some of the steamy scenes were like really good, and every steamy scene now is just bad.
Yeah. And I don't understand that. I thought that the beginning kind of makeout sessions in the season, I'm like, okay, well, they're getting their bearings. Maybe they haven't been on camera kissing in a while. So, they need to kind of figure it out. But by the time we get to episode 11, they should be old hat at this. They should be warmed up, primed, ready to go. And that scene in, I guess, the hotel room or at the resort, I don't know where they were because they ran away from his dad for the day. it was just, there were like little things that felt gross. And I'm like, are you being homophobic right now, Samantha? Is that why you're saying this is gross? And then I had to think, I'm like, no, because I know how I reacted to season one. And this is just gross. This is not you being homophobic. This is actually just gross. It feels gross.
Mm.
And I don't know what happened that made it that way. Because I've seen you toot up a man's legs and put them around his throat and fake fuck a guy. Because that happened in What the Duck season one with
Mm.
Art. So it's not that Gulf be very receptive to being the submissive partner in season one. So I know it's not Gulf. So is it the director was made like in the background jilling off and that's the reason why it was uncomfortable for everybody? Like what happened in that room that made that scene feel so bad?
I don't know. I guess that's kind of the theme for the whole show because it's like the same people involved almost all around, but it's so much worse in every way.
Well, it is a brand new director. They canned the director from season one and got a new director.
Oh, I didn't know that. Ooh.
Yeah, and this director does not know what the fuck they're doing. And I don't know if it's because the season one director asked for more money, if the season one director was like, I can do other things besides this rape fantasy shit you've got going on. But yeah, the director for this season, you just don't get it. You don't know anything about pacing. You don't know anything about timing. You don't know anything about story flow, and it shows. And the fact that you turned what is easily one of those the most naturally sensual BL couples
Mhm.
into this whatever the fuck this is. Like I said, I don't know what was happening, but something awful must have been happening on set because it came across in the scene.
Yeah, I'm thinking it could be the director then. It's weird. This whole show really could have been, it's 12 episodes. This could have been a 90-minute movie. With the amount of story they covered, a 90-minute movie.
Oh, absolutely. This could have been like Still Together, honestly. This could have been Still Together, and each episode could have been one of the arcs. The first episode could have been about Tharn's family and what they've been doing since we last saw them, what their friends have been doing since we last saw them, a catch up episode. The
Mhm.
second episode could have been about the girl who's trying to fuck Tharn and she finds out Tharn is gay. The third episode is Type and the drama going on with his job. The fourth episode is during this whole last few episodes, we've been talking about the fact that I want to marry you. You don't want to marry me. You're going to go home and become a monk. And then the fifth episode could be like, now that I've accepted your proposal, this is just an update on where everybody is as well. Boom. That's it. That could have been the season. Nothing else would have been needed.
I would have loved that, honestly. I think that's all you needed for this. Because, like, at the end of season one, you're kind of like, okay, I mean, I guess I don't know what else they could go. I don't know what the story could be after this. And they clearly didn't think of anything.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the only thing we wanted out of season two, honestly, was revenge. That's all we wanted, honestly. That was the only thing that was left unfinished out of season one for me was revenge against Long.
I have one thing I really wanted and didn't quite get in season two, though. I wanted Type to, like, out loud tell his dad, like, Dad, I'm gay. Stop ragging on my boyfriend. I just
Mm-hmm.
think that, like, what a missed opportunity because it's kind of clear that Type is still he's not super comfortable with that yet. And I think that, like, the scene where he starts yelling with his dad, um, in like episode 10, maybe 11, I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
um, I really wish they had a deeper conversation about that. About he was like, Dad, I'm gay. You can't really change that. Like it makes like because it's uncomfortable when his dad's like, oh, you should date this girl. You know, I'm trying to set you up. Like, I just wish Type's character got to a point where he was comfortable saying that.
Yeah, and this is the reason why we say this is not 7 years of love. This is 7 minutes of love
Yeah,
because Type is just as insecure and homophobic this season as he was the last season. He
right.
is, I don't tell anyone at my job that I'm gay. I don't want to marry you because it'll mess up your family because we're a couple of gays. I mean, all of these things, and even the way he treats Tharn, he's still incredibly mean to Tharn. He's
Mhm.
still like, fuck you, get out of my face. Like, it is not possible for this to be a 7-year relationship. That
No.
it's not. Number one, don't nobody look no different. But number two, after 7 years, if Tharn is still this needy and still has this much of a desire to be validated in his feelings for Type, I don't know how Type hasn't already ruined this relationship. I don't know how Tharn has,
Mm-hmm.
to the point that you feel like Tharn would do something drastic just to get Type to admit that Type cares.
Right.
So if uh,
It's stupid. I wish that Type's character, I wish they looked at like shonen protagonists, because like every shonen protagonist is like a hothead and very reactionary, but they're not abusive, you know? Like Naruto's not punching his friends or yelling at them, fuck you, but he can be a bit of a hothead.
mm,
Why wasn't that? I feel like that is a good character progression for Type, where he's still kind of, he's a little feisty, still kind of a hothead, but he's not fucking abusive to his friends and family, you know?
right, because he's mean to everybody. He's mean to Techno. He's mean to Champ. The only person that he's nice to consistently throughout this entire show is the doctor that works at the hospital with him. He's never mean to that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he is actually decent to Fiat most of the time, which is why, like, why would you be decent to this kid that you know you don't want nothing to do with, but you treat your man like that? And I think that he's okay to Tharn's cousin. Like,
Right.
he seems like he's got some shame about him when it comes to dealing with Tarn's family. He
Mhm.
doesn't show his ass with them. But outside of that, like, he's fucking mean as shit to Techno. He's mean as shit to Champ. He's mean as shit to Tharn. Anyone who's actually like close to him, he treats like shit. And you have to wonder, because I grew up with somebody who was like that. My stepfather was one of those people, like, he was mean to everyone who really knew him, and to strangers, he was like the best, and he was like the most charming. You have to wonder if maybe Mame doesn't realize that she's working out some of her own problems through these characters, because she has to see how there's nothing romantic about somebody who constantly makes you feel like a second class citizen to the world.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, maybe she doesn't. Maybe she's still dealing with that own dynamic in her life, and that's the reason why she doesn't feel the need to correct it on screen.
Right.
Yeah. So I got notes. I want to go through the couples and side characters, because I think that it's important to talk about how utterly useless and stupid and terrible some of these folks are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, it wouldn't be a terrible story just because of the way that Tharn and Type were written. It's also a terrible story because of the way their entire universe was written.
Yeah.
So let's start with the most obvious, just bad move: Fiat and Leo. My note for shorthand was, Fiat is a whiny brat. Leo is a weirdo, and his actor was better when he was wearing that ugly wig in Until We Meet Again.
I forgot he was in it. He's
Because that ugly ass wig.
got the ugly wig and the glasses. Oh man.
He was better in Until We Meet Again.
He
Fact.
was. The script is terrible in this show. I don't think he's high, but I'm sure every actor read that script and went, oh goddamn. They're like, a check is a check at this point.
They're like, can you fix this in post?
Yeah.
So let's start with Fiat. From the very first moment we see Fiat on screen, I hated his guts.
Mm-hmm.
Which is saying a lot, because the actor who plays Fiat to me kind of reminds me of Mark from NCT, like facial wise.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, and Mark's one of my favorite members of NCT. So you'd think I'd be friendly. But the way that the actor was instructed to play Fiat, he played Fiat first as an arrogant asshole
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't know how to talk sensibly to anybody. And then after that, they made him just like a whiny baby brat.
Mhm.
And there's a moment where he and Leo get in a fight and he runs away from Leo and then like stumbles on the stairs and hurts his leg.
Like,
I was like, yes, more of that, please.
I was waiting
Fuck it
for him
up,
to,
knees.
I was waiting for him to do that like Disney princess thing where he like is sobbing and then like collapses onto his bed dramatically.
Instead, it was the stairs that.
Oh. And then he was like, "All right, I'll pick you up." Mm.
Yeah, the character, because like his personality changes drastically from when we first meet him to where he's at. When we first meet him, he's stone cold, won't listen to good sense. He's at physical therapy and they're telling him, you need surgery on your knee so that you can still walk in 10 years. And he's like, but I've got to play basketball right now. And it's like,
Mhm.
girl, come on now. Uh, but then after he starts talking to Type, he goes on this like hookup date with this guy. And somehow after that decides, I will do anything to make Type my man.
Right.
And you're like, okay, well, is this like a side effect of him being like an asshole type? He's just like, I only know how to either fuck guys or ignore guys because he's an asshole type. But then you see his interactions with Leo, and it's like, okay, you're telling everybody that the reason why you wanted to be with Type is because you feel like no one's ever cared about you. And Type is the first person to ever act like they cared about you. And that's why you wanted to keep him in your life. But from the very moment that Leo shows up on the scene, Leo is very much like, here, I'll take care of your knee. Here, you
Mhm.
can stay at my place. Here, let me feed you breakfast. Here, let me iron your clothes. Let me do all this stuff. And it's like, how how does how did you not end up with Leo before? If all you were looking for was a romantic connection with somebody who cares about you, how
Mhm.
did this not happen before?
Right.
And
In the same bed sometimes, and they're just like, "Ah, it's the morning. We'll snuggle together." And it's like,
yeah, it's like you woke up with a boner in your ass and you were like, oh no, it's just what happens in the morning between us guys.
yeah, no homo though.
Yeah, no homo. But
Sometimes we shower together.
yeah, no big deal. But then at the end of the show, Fiat confesses that he has always liked Leo, I guess, but that he didn't think that Leo liked him back. And again, you woke up with the boner firmly caressing your ass crack, but you didn't think that this guy liked you back.
Right.
It just, none of it makes any sense. And that's the reason why Fiat is so exhausting, because he's constantly waffling between this like stone cold character to this kind of like puppy dog character whenever he's around Type, to this whiny brat whenever he's around Leo. And there's nothing about the way that they made this actor play this character that made you sympathetic to Fiat.
Right.
Like, I was thinking really hard about this and I realized who Fiat should have been in order for us to like him. Fiat should have been Fugun. Fugun is the cousin of Tharn who lives with his boyfriend in the apartment complex. And
Mm.
he has kind of a younger, innocent, docile personality. And I'm like, if that was Fiat throughout the entire show, you might would feel bad for Fiat for feeling unloved. And you would understand why he and Leo never got together previously, because he has that kind of personality where he doesn't typically go after the guys he wants.
Right.
But the way that they played Fiat, like he felt like he might have had like personality disorders because he's so many things all the time.
It did feel like, oh, we should get you to a therapist because you need some help, and the only way you're going to get the help is to see a therapist.
Right. So that was how I felt about Fiat. And then Leo was just boring as shit. Like that kid had no emotions. Even when he was trying to be like romantic, he just looked constipated.
Yeah. I was like, at least he's cute.
Like the very last scene with the two of them is at the basketball court when he's supposed to be excited to take
Yeah.
Fiat on to his therapy, his physical therapy. And like his face is still like, yeah, I can't wait to take you. I'm gonna go get dressed right now. What?
Boring. Yeah.
Yeah. So fuck them. Next, Champ and Dr. Coonpole.
All right.
Okay. My
Speaking
note
of
here
bad
was
actors,
Champ is that side character better seen than her. Dr. Coonpole deserved better.
Champ was the worst actor in the whole fucking show. He stood there, mouth open like a trout, like, the scene where like the doctor, whose name I always forget, I'm just gonna call him Doctor. The doctor confesses to him, and he's like, he's trying to like act, and he's like, oh, I have, in his mind, he's like, I have so many emotions right now. The script says to grab arm, so grab arm, pull in for hug. Like, it's like, where'd you find this guy? Off the street? It's like they picked a random guy off the street, or like he was like a production assistant, and then they were like, oh shit, the actor we had for Champ, he called in sick today. We got to find someone to fill in. So they shoved some random PA they thought was good looking enough to be in a couple of scenes. And then when they did TharnType, season 2, they're like, we'll stick with it. We won't recast.
Yeah, Champ gave us all of nothing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sis, give us more air.
Yeah.
Uh, but Dr. Coonpole, I really like that actor. I really liked him because he had a very like sincere face. I
Mm-hmm.
think that he acted appropriately in every scene he was in, and
Mm-hmm.
his personality for his character stayed consistent. Even when he was plotting to uncover what was going on with the hospital director and his like misdeeds, when he looked like he was angry or he was trying to be serious, he didn't go wildly out of character with his emotions or the way he portrayed them.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of it, like I'm like, I would want to follow this guy. He's one of my favorite characters. I just really liked who he was throughout the entire show. The only thing that was frustrating was he was super shy with Champ when at the beginning of the series, because I guess they hadn't been around each other for a few years. And so he's like, oh my gosh, I'm nervous. And I'm like, but you lived in the same room with this man. And I'm assuming as roommates, he undressed around you and, every once in a while you probably walked in on him fapping or whatever. But now meeting him in restaurants fully clothed, you're embarrassed around him. That's kind of bizarre.
No, I'm okay with it because he still kind of had a crush on him. So he was like, oh, my crush is here. Oh my god.
Yeah. But I did notice, like, as the series progressed, because the guy who plays Dr. Kumpal is a good actor, he got progressively more comfortable around Champ. He didn't stay in that shy space. And I'm
Right.
like, I really like this for him. I think that this actor is doing a great job. I hate that you're in such a piece of shit production
Mm-hmm.
because you have talent. And as I was watching him, you know what I was thinking to myself? My engineer season 2 is still on the back burner because we're in COVID and everything. If anyone was going to take over the role of Meek, he
Yep.
would be perfect.
Yep. Let's do it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we have to recast. There's no way we can't. And I think that this kid's got it. I think that his personality and then like the bombast and like wildness of Boss, it would be perfect. So if the universe is listening, please give this man the job of Meek in My Engineer season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, next couple. Fugun and Cyrus. Why are they here? Fugun did literally everything Techno did in the book. Okay, so Fugun and Cyrus, I don't believe were in the original book. I have not read the original book because fuck putting more money in Mame's pockets. Um, but in the original book, Techno is the one who sees Fiat in Type's apartment. Techno is the one who has the kind of confrontational meeting with Fiat. And Techno is the one who meets Fiat in the bar and gets him drunk so that they can kidnap Fiat. And I guess because Mame didn't want to cast a second actor as Techno, it was decided that instead, or a different actor as Kinkla, sorry. There's supposed to be a different actor playing Kinkla, and Kinkla was the one who was supposed to get Fiat drunk in the bar because Kinkla is a well-known rapist, so he's good at these things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I guess since they couldn't cast another Kinkla for the show because people hate Kinkla's character and Mame finally realized there's just nothing to redeem him. They decided to keep the original Techno in the scene, but give all of Techno's story arcs to Fugun and Cyrus. So Cyrus is an avatar for Kinkla, and Fugun is an avatar for Techno. That's fine. That's fine that you did that because I agree. Nobody wants to see Kinkla, but I also didn't want to see these two either. Like real talk, them in their stuff, I could have lived my whole life without it, especially because the actor that plays Cyrus, he's just as bad as Champ and Leo.
He just stood there. I don't remember him saying anything.
He got mad at Fugun. He's like, how dare you use me in a scheme to seduce some other man? Aren't you upset that other men want to fuck me? It's just like
every scene that they were in was in one ear, out the other.
I mean, from the jump, he was just an asshole. Like the very first scene we see with Cyrus, he's in the elevator holding a box, and this girl's like, "Oh, you're new to the building. Hey, you need a little bit of help?" And he's just like, doesn't even acknowledge this bitch exists.
Mm-hmm.
And so then his boyfriend gets on the elevator, like, "Oh, honey, quit being like that." And he's like, "Why? I don't want to talk to any random hoes. I only have eyes for you." And it's like, is that necessary? Do we really need to do all that? So I just like, I could have lived my whole life without anything having to do with you guys' private relationship. The way that they should have introduced Fugun and Cyrus, it should have been that Type and Tharn go to Tharn's family's house to talk about the fact that Thorn is going to propose to his girlfriend. And Fugun and Cyrus should have been there. And that's when Tharn should have said, hey, there's a vacant apartment in my apartment building. You guys should move in. That way I can keep an eye on my baby cousin. And that would have been the introduction that made sense. Then we could have seen him every once in a while pop over to TharnType to like drop off stuff that his aunt sent along because they are related. And then it would have made sense for he and Type to be close enough for him to then start doing favors for Type. Because there's literally only maybe 2 interactions between Type and Fugun before he's telling Fugun, I need you to help me rape this kid.
Right.
And so like, yeah, I don't understand this. I do not understand what the hell we're doing with them.
Right.
Okay. Next, Techno. My note was, look what you did to my son.
When Techno first appeared in the first episode, I was like, oh, the glow up, the visual glow up we've received is great. I can't wait to see more of him and just experience. He's so hot now. No, they did nothing with him.
They ruined his personality.
Yeah.
They made him to where he's like, all he does is fuck around and make jokes and constantly try to trick people into buying food for him.
Mm-hmm.
And, canonically, Kinkla is rich. So Techno shouldn't have to be scamming people for food at this point.
Right.
Because his man's got money. Also, Techno was the voice of reason in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand how in this season, all he does is stir shit up. He's like, I got this picture of Tharn with this girl at the mall. Mm-hmm. Or, I saw Type talking to this kid named Fiat. Like, he's such the fucking instigator in this season. And he was not that guy in the last season. The worst thing he did in the last season was leave his drunk roommate alone with a guy that he knew had not great feelings towards his roommate. But that was it. Outside of that, for the most part, he kept it pretty cool. But this season, he was useless. And I'm like, why would you do this to this actor? And it was to the point that people started harassing the actor in real life. Right. And I'm like, this isn't his fault. This is what the director is telling him to do. And this is what Mame wrote on the page. He's doing his fucking job. It's just that the people around him are shit at their job.
I felt really bad. He felt the need to issue an apology for his poor performance when honestly, not even the worst actor.
No, not even. And I think the reason why he issued the apology, I'm hoping, is because he's like, I want to act in more series. And in order for me to get more acting jobs, I've got to make sure that the people who hire me know I'm not going to blame production failures on them.
Right.
But yeah, I look what they did to my child. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. Let's keep going. Uh, Dr. Thiddy and the hospital gaze. Notes. Are you jealous? Are you trying to fuck? What is the reason? So Dr. Thiddy is Type's boss, and he is the scum of the fucking earth. He
Mhm.
sexually harasses the female, actively trying to find ways to make either Tharn quit his job or try to get Tharn fired by trying to make him do work that has nothing to do with his job. He spreads rumors about keep saying Tharn, I should say Type. He keeps spreading rumors about Type in the hospital, telling people that Type is a pervert and a rapist and is a hothead and beat him up and all this other stuff. And then there's these two gay hospital employees that are just like, girl, you're in trouble now. Like one of them even gets caught saying like, oh, I had a crush on Type, but I had no idea he was like this. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, what is going on here? Because initially I thought that maybe the director was mad at Type because he thought Type was a ladies' man and would end up having sexual relations with the girls that he normally targets. But then he finds out that Type is gay because he sees Type kissing his boyfriend in the parking lot. And then that is what becomes the fight. Is
Mhm.
like, yeah, you need to quit doing that gay shit in the parking lot. In fact, you should go get checked to see if you've got AIDS because whores like you are probably dirty. And I'm just like, okay, what do you have against this guy? Like before, I thought maybe you were jealous because other women like him, but now that you've seen that he doesn't even want the other women, do you want to fuck? Is that what it is? Are you mad because you and the other hospital gays are like, he never gave us the time of day? Like, what is the reason?
Mysteries. We'll never know.
I don't fucking know either. And I just felt like this character, if he had been written properly, if they had made him not so nonsensical, he could have been a great villain for this story. But as it stands, he also was a waste of time. The only thing that he did for us is he made us cheer when Type mollywopped his ass.
I did not like that actually.
Really?
Here's why. Let me explain. I didn't like that because I think it shows that it really just proves that Type has not changed as a character. Um, I am not saying he didn't deserve it. He did deserve a good punch. Type should not have done it to him. I really think to show some more character growth, Type should have um, not used any physical abuse. Because then it just proves that Type is just going to keep punching people. Even if they deserve it, you really shouldn't just go around hitting people.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, that really could affect him getting jobs in the future. Is if it comes out that, oh, you punched your former boss in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the day when there's people around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just think it's, oh, I think all around it's bad for Type, especially because the very next scene was um, the other doctor basically bringing down Type's boss. So it's like we didn't need the punch and that scene back to back. I really just wish that it would, maybe the if the head of the hospital overheard him saying that to Type and then called them into the room, I would have preferred that more because I think Type hitting him just shows that Type hasn't changed and it's overall bad for Type in his character development.
I agree with Type hitting him because the guy, the director, assaulted him first. He threw those files at Type, and so he engaged in physical contact first. And I'm of the call me old school. I'm of the feeling that I will not lay hands on you until you lay hands on me. The minute you touch me, it's over for that ass.
No, no, he's 25. He's too young to be doing that. he'd have a hard time getting a job if that happened.
I guess so. I mean, I'm assuming the hospital has CCTV footage that shows the interaction, because even without words, you can see the director throwing the file at Type. So he starts the physical violence. And like I said, I'm old school. If you want to start a fight, I'll finish it. So that's a personality defect for me. That legitimately is who I am. Don't fight me, because I will fight you.
I just know this. If it happened in my industry and someone had maybe even initiated it, but I punched them, I don't think I'd work again.
Maybe.
I don't think I'd work again.
Yeah. Well. All right, next we have Thorn. My notes are heavy in caps, predator vibes. His poor wife is doomed. What man tells his wife, "You cool being number 3"? We thought Thorn was bad in season 1. We made a lot of assumptions about Thorn's character in season 1, and all season 2 did was validate our feelings.
Yes. It was like, I think honestly, one of the reasons they really aged up Thanya is because they were like, it makes it less creepy, I guess, if he's doting on her. And they were like, yeah, it was weird how attached he was to this 6-year-old. We'll make her like now.
Thank you for saying that. Was she 6 years old in season 1? Because if she is, that means that Thanya is 13 now.
So I don't know how old she was in season 1, but she was young.
Yes.
Like, she looked way older than she should have been for this series.
Right. I was looking at her, I'm like, how old is this bitch? If it was 7 years from their senior year, I'd be like, okay, cool, this makes sense.
Right.
But 7 years from the very first year that they got together,
right.
She was probably at max 10 years old. So that would make her maybe 17 max now. Right. And I'm like, no fucking way. No fucking way.
Yeah.
And if she's 17, then the scenes with her and Type's dad are fucking disgusting.
Weird. Why did they do that? I hate that was one of the reasons he warmed up to Type, or to Tharn. I'm like, really? You thought his sister was hot? So now it's fine? Like, that's, again, that's why I really wish I really think Type and his dad had a big conversation that was a huge missed opportunity.
Right. But yeah, Thorn he tells his girlfriend up front, like, listen, I love you, I want to marry you, but you have to understand, I'm always going to run out on you when it comes to my mother, and I'm always going to run out on you when it comes to my sister. Are you okay with that? And she's like, I knew when I met you that I was always going to be number 3. I accept.
She didn't love herself enough. And she was pretty.
Yeah. I mean, she looked a lot older than him, I'll be honest. Like, it looks like they casted a 22-year-old and a 32-year-old for this role.
Well,
but
they did that with Type and Tharn, so they were like, it is what it is.
Yeah, just fuck it. But yeah, I was just like, girl, no. Do you know how many? Okay, if that's how he feels now, how's he gonna feel when you have kids? Is every successive kid gonna push you down on the rankings until you just don't matter no fucking more? What about when Thanya gets married and her kids end up in the ranking? Everything points to the fact that he will never respect you.
Right.
Because he doesn't even try to pretend that you'll be his number 1.
Imagine your marriage proposal involves being told you're 3rd place.
And to have number 2 sitting in the room.
Yeah.
Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here.
No, I pray for her and him that they only have sons. Because it's not going to be good if they have girls.
Oh, yeah. I mean, their girls will sleep in the bed with them. And actually, the girls will sleep in the bed with their dad, and she'll stay in the guest room.
Right. He'd be like, oh, we have triplets, all girls. Guess you'll sleep in the guest room.
Also, quick note. Thorn gave me creepy predator vibes also because the way he clocked that bitch who was going after Tharn. So there's a chick working in the office who's going after Tharn because Thorn gets engaged. And Thorn tells Tharn, yeah, that bitch tried to seduce me, and I told her no. I know she was after me because she sees money, and you need to watch out because that's what she's after. And when I heard him clock that, I'm like, there's a lot going on back here. He's not as clueless and dim-witted as we thought he was. He's not so fucking whipped for his sister that he doesn't have any common sense. He knows what's going on with a lot of things. So he has to know how fucking creepy it is that he's like, I have to take my sister to work every day. I have to be on set whenever she's on set. I have to make sure I pick her up. I have to know what she's doing at all times.
Mm.
Yeah. Get out of here. That guy.
It's weird. It's
catch
weird.
a predator. Next, Thania. Would like this actress better if she had more facial range. Also, how old is she?
I also loved that every time she was on screen, she was dressed like she was going to the most lavish party.
Yes.
Like, why was she always in just like, everyone's in like a t-shirt and jeans, and she's like, I am here for the runway. And it's like, girl, where are you going? You're at home. What are you doing?
I remember thinking, like, she stays in a sundress. She stays in a two-piece coordinated set.
Oh yeah, she spent her whole quarantine in one of those floral dresses. She's like, my waist is gonna be snatched today while I sit and wait for my script to come in.
Yes, and also she looks like she's not at all related to that family.
No.
Yeah, I'm like, who is this white girl? What is she doing here? But yeah, I thought I liked the fact that she was the character that spoke the most, like, reasonably of the close family characters. Like, still Dr. Kumpal is my favorite, but she was definitely the one, like, Tharn, you guys have been together for 7 years. Get your head out of your ass. He's not gonna leave you.
Right.
Calm down. And I appreciated that. But like, even when things were like rough and her brother's crying and he's just like falling apart, the most we get from her is kind of a stern face. But she doesn't have much range in terms of acting. It's either like pleasant and sweet, or it's like, this is frustrating. But that's it. That's it. Like, that's it. There's no range here. And I'm like, I get that you wanted an actress who looked a lot like the kid that you cast in season 1, but also you've got to start casting people who have acting experience.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Next note. Type's dad. I would fuck the actor, but the character is homophobic and sleazy. Fuck him.
Great. It's gross. I'm not a fan. It was too much. Like, it makes me look bad on Type for allowing his dad to go through this for 7 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, at the point that you and your boyfriend have been together for 7 years, your dad has tried to poison your boyfriend. Your dad has threatened to fight your boyfriend. Your dad calls him a farang every time you guys are together, which I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I feel like the implication is there.
Yeah. It sounds like Harry Potter when they say mudblood. You're like, ooh, you shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, that don't sound good. That don't sound good at all. But yeah, like, his dad is not just like, I don't want to acknowledge that this is the reality of our situation. He is actively aggressive towards this man. And he is overly obsessed with his son getting trimmed. And it's just like, how does your wife deal with you? Because, like, they're in the living room watching the show, and his dad's like, you should date a bitch like this because she's fine as shit. I watch her all the time. She's my favorite. Mm-hmm. I don't know why his wife doesn't just turn around and say, shut the fuck up. Like, and it makes sense that Type's personality is the way it is because his dad is so fucking gross and just crass. But then I found it disingenuous that the dad character softens up on Tharn once Type gets ordained.
Yeah. I was like, I guess it's nice that he's softening up, but
for 7 years, you had nothing good to say about this man. You confronted him with slurs every time you saw him. But then when you find out his sister is your favorite fat material and your son's going to be ordained as a monk, all of a sudden, this is my son-in-law.
It's I think it sends a bad message. Like, I don't mind Type getting ordained. I think that I just wish it was done not as like a, well, will you finally accept me if I do something for you? Because that should not be the case. His dad should accept and love him no matter what. He shouldn't have to do something like that to prove it. He shouldn't have to do anything to prove it, you know?
Yeah. So disappointing. Next, Chloe and So. If you don't remember who they are, I understand, because why the fuck were they here? Chloe and So were the people who lived in the room next door during season 1, and
Oh,
So was the kid who wanted to be a K-pop star. So my notes were, why are they here? Question mark. So is too old to be a trainee, and Chloe is doing nothing.
So was too old to be a trainee at the end of season 1. Like, there's no K-pop idol that's starting traineeship at 21, 22. And if they are, the company's like, you are mad talented and we're debuting you tomorrow.
Right. So at the end of season 1, So and Chloe are seniors in college, and TharnType are freshmen. So that means that this is 7 years later from So's senior year. 7 years later, he's coming back home as a failed K-pop idol. And it's like, okay, giving you the benefit of the doubt, let's say you're 21 as a senior in college. You are now 28. You should have known it wasn't going to work for you when you turned 23.
Right.
You could have given that shit 2 good years, and then you should have known it was over.
Yeah. Like,
So
think about it. SM just put out a casting call for their new boy group, and they're like, oh, we want people to audition who are like 13 to 19.
right.
Like, what are we doing here?
It is just obscene the way that they pretend like we don't know what the process is when they know that so many, there's the Venn diagram between K-pop fan and BL fan, there's a huge gap of overlap. So to act like we don't know what a trainee's age would be or what a trainee would look like or any of the other stuff, that's stupid. Like, honestly, if So wanted to be a K-pop star, he wouldn't have even enrolled in college. He would have graduated from high school, or maybe not. He may have left middle school even and would have been in Korea. He
Right.
would not have gone to college and then gone to Korea. Now, if they had said that So wanted to be a star in China, that would have been different. And the reason I say that is because for anybody who's watched The Untamed, Shazan, who is one of the lead characters in that show, he actually graduated from college and was a graphic designer before he went on a reality show and won a reality show and became a member of a boy group. And then after that, he started acting, and then he became a part of this huge The Untamed. But he started relatively late. And in China, I do think they let their idols kind of grow up a little bit. But in Korea, they want to break you before you have a mind of your own. And so there's no way they would have let this grown ass man show up unless he was just the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a stupid story. Also, Chloe, all we know that he does is that he's like an influencer. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So what the fuck are you doing here as well?
Gratuitous cameos, I guess.
Yeah.
Characters that honestly we didn't really care about in season 1 because they were barely there. So
Speaking of that, characters we don't care about, the bar owners. My note was, I guess.
I forgot they were in this season.
The only reason why I remember is because like Type wakes up in the bed with the husband, and I'm like, the wife is pregnant. Why is Type in the bed with the husband, but the wife is up and running?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Comb, who is Type's childhood friend. My note: the only one who did what needed to be done. Also, was he always this fine?
Yes. I will say yes, he is, because I've been following him on Instagram since 2 Moons 2, Sam. And you were a hater bitch then.
Okay, act like I was a hater, but he literally put revenge porn all over the campus. He was a trash character in 2 Moons too.
But he was still fine.
It was hard for me to see him as fine when I hated his guts. I'm emotional in that way. And so like in the first season, I'm like, oh, he's kind of cute. It's nice to see him play a different character. When he showed up on the screen in episode 11, I'm like, my God, has he always been this good looking? Like he just nice. He radiated like fuck me. Like he gave us the goods. Also, like his conversation with Type was like the realest conversation. Just like, you know, thank you for bragging how much your boyfriend loves you. That's really nice. Appreciate that. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for somebody who just like really feels like he's actually friends with Type. And thank you for somebody who seems like they're seeing the situation for what it is. So yeah, I this character that I was glad to have involved in this.
I liked him in season 1 too. I actually wish we got more of him.
I do too. I always thought that the reason we didn't get more of him is because they were going to give him his own show. And that may still be the case. We don't know. Mame's fucked up. Who knows what's going to happen to her? But I really thought that the actor, he just had a really calming presence. And he also just seemed talented. Like straight up, he seemed like he was one of the most qualified actors on set.
Yeah.
So, loved him. Next, Homegirl at the Hospital. Cool character, but useless. She was the kind of, I don't know, right-hand girl for Type. And I'm like, you could have easily scrapped this character and put Dr. Kuhnpaul here. And save some time, save some money. Next, Amy. I think that's her name. The girl that tries to date Tharn. Why? Why are we bringing this into the scene? Okay, logically, she has no legs to stand on because the whole argument in the very first episodes of TharnType season 1 are, I live out loud. I acknowledge I'm gay. Everyone around me knows I'm gay. So how could this bitch not know that Tharn is gay?
People are clueless. I will say that. So there are some truly clueless girls out there.
I would understand clueless girls, but I also feel like Type is around Tharn's family all the time. Type, everyone else in Tharn's life knows about Type. So how would she not know? And also, like, the first time we see her in the series, she is meeting Tharn at the jewelry store where he's looking at engagement rings for his boyfriend. So if that's the first time she's introduced to us, when he's in the jewelry store looking at engagement rings, she didn't get the context clue that like he's involved with somebody. And I'm sure that Tharn, because he lives out loud, would be like, yeah, I'm picking out an engagement ring for my boyfriend.
Right.
So again, makes no fucking sense. What the fuck is going on here? And then Gil, which is Tharn's coworker. There was a brief episode where Type was jealous because Tharn was having fun and he was commenting on his coworker's pictures. And it's just like,
they are so fucking petty and shallow. If they even see them smiling at another person, they're like, and who was that?
Right.
The jealousy is crazy.
I mean, they are like that meme of the guy and the girl walking down the street and somebody walks by the turned head and the yeah, that's them. That's them all the time. It never ends.
How are they this insecure in their relationship 7 years in? 7 years in? And you guys
are okay. So because I like to promulgate solutions if I can, I would like to read to you my alternative plot line for TharnType season 2.
Awesome.
Okay. Type. He has job woes because he lost jobs in the past for being gay. That is also the reason why he will not marry Tharn. Tharn is tired of Type's homophobic dad and internal homophobia. Also, I noted this, but I didn't talk about it. There's a moment in episode 11 when Tharn and Type are getting intimate and Tharn is being gentle and Type says, just go ahead and do it already. And it implies that most of the time their sex is not nice. It's kind of the rough thing. And I put on my synopsis, the rape fucking is a way that type justifies what they do. So, getting a little in the weeds here. I think the reason why type doesn't want Tharn to be gentle when they're having sex is because that's the last holdout for his homophobia. So
Mm.
like he can live with type, or he can live with Tharn and be nice to Tharn and even kiss Tharn and be gentle. But when he's having himself penetrated by Tharn, he has to fight it, or it has to be rough in order for him to be like, well, I'm not an active participant in this sexual act.
Mhm.
And I wanted to make sure that that was something that was talked about in my synopsis. All right, so we've got that problem going on. Next, Fiat has a crush on type. No pressure, willing to keep it down low, and he has financial. Type is worried about losing another job, and he can't fight the advances from Fiat for at least 4 weeks because he's on probation for the job. So at one point, Fiat tries to pin Type down. Tharn sees this and leaves. Type comes clean to Fiat about the fact that he's got a boyfriend. Him and his boyfriend have been together for 7 years. The reason why he didn't tell Fiat in order to get Fiat to quit flirting with him is because he was afraid of letting the people at his job know he was gay, because he'd lost jobs about it in the past. And also, since Fiat's dad owns the hospital, he didn't want him to get Type fired because he didn't reciprocate Fiat's feelings. And I wrote here, dot, 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 and Fiat is cool slash helpful. So instead of there having to be an assault or like you dick tease, he's just like, I get where you're coming from because I'm a gay person. I understand completely. That's why I was willing to keep it on the low with you. And I wish you had told me up front because we could have at least been friends. I also put that Leo works at the hospital, has a baby crush on Fiat.
Mhm.
So that was where I made the main couple kind of make sense for me. Then for side characters, I said Type's confidant at the hospital who got him the job is Dr. Kuhnpaul. So in my mind, after losing a couple of different jobs and not knowing what the alternatives would be, Dr. Kuhnpaul, who was the roommate of Champ, is like, hey, since we're all in the same friend group, I can get you a job at the hospital I work at. And that's how Type gets that job. Um, Dr. Kuhnpaul, his relationship with Champ is ambiguous because Champ is ace. So the reason why he's kind of so stunted and they don't share kisses and he kind of doesn't have that breakthrough is because he and Dr. Kuhnpaul have been together for a long time, but Champ has been ace. And so that's the reason why he hasn't ever kind of made that leap. So they spend their season learning and exploring what the limits of their love is. Also, the bad boss is there, and there is a subplot about sexual harassing from the hospital, and Dr. Kuhnpaul and Type work together to get him ousted. So those were my alternative routes for this storyline.
I see it. I love it. We're hiring the director from I Told Sunset About You. At that point, I trust them with anything.
Yeah, I trust you in my life.
Yeah. I really like that though.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking, because I'm like, okay, I'm willing to keep a good amount of what Mame has put here, but I cannot keep the sexual assault. I cannot keep allowing Type to continue to be shitty towards Tharn, and I can't let some of these things that they haven't talked about for 7 years stay untalked about.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, again, this is because Mame is not qualified. Let Flat out, Mame is a fanfic writer who lucked out in being able to turn her fan fictions into sellable books and intellectual property.
She's
Because
EL.
yeah, and she uses the lowest common denominator, the messiest, most problematic tropes to write these stories. And it's a shame because I feel like if she had a little bit more talent and could think outside of her tropey ass box, she could really make some great stories. But at the end of the day, the thing that stops her is the fact that she doesn't care about actual gay men.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, they're going to have to confront her about the fact that she does more damage to gay communities than she does good.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I feel about that. I think I've gone through my notes. I don't have any more notes left for this show, but I want to read a review if you'll let me, because uh, I listen to a show called The Read. It's a podcast, and they do this thing called Pass the Read, where like listeners can put in their own letters and like they'll read their opinion, because at the end of the show they give their opinion on something pop culture, and they do kind of like a rant, and sometimes I'll read a listener rant. And I read this review on my drama list, and I said, this is the review. Like, there's no other review, this is the review, because this person gave the show an overall 1.5 out of 10. They said this: best thing about this show is that it's over. That's the name of the review. This show, you've come to the right place. I have extreme hatred towards everything that happened, especially Tharn. Let's get further into it, you and me. Join me in this journey and scream into the void with me, starting with the fact that how the title is fooling us. It's been 7 minutes since Type and Tarn started dating, not 7 years, because of how they act. Their relationship has always been toxic, but I never expected that they'll have no trust in each other whatsoever. They act like babies, and it's frustrating to watch. Definitely not like a couple who's been together for 7 years, and that's how you know that the show is already bad. Moving on. Tharn is humanity's worst enemy. That's in caps. He is really the worst character. He is obsessed with one thing and one thing only, and that's getting into Type's pants. It's like he can't seem to think of anything else at all. He says he likes Type in tank tops, and that Type is trying to seduce him by wearing them around the house. Question mark, question mark, question mark. What does this even mean? So Type can't wear comfortable clothing in his own house because apparently he's seducing his sex-crazed partner. What an amazing message to convey to the viewers. Slow claps. Secondly, his whiny face. He is constantly complaining or crying about something or the other each and every episode. It's really unpleasant, and most importantly, it doesn't make me feel bad for him at all because he's a full-grown man. It's just repetitive and shows that Tharn has no other personality trait. Moving on. I can never wrap my head around the fact that Tharn saw Fiat kissing Type, but when Type pushed Fiat away and yelled at him, how is that even possible? Anyway, the whole plot was garbage, which we didn't talk about that. When Fiat kisses Type, Type pushes him away.
Right.
Tharn only saw the kiss?
I guess.
Make it make sense. Next, let's talk about Type a bit now. He was genuinely doing so well. The only character who grew up and was acting like an adult. His character development was interesting to watch, and it made the show a little bearable. But no, they had to go ahead and ruin that by showing, the whole Fiat kidnapping and assault plan, which we have not talked about during this whole review. Yes, you heard me right. It was assault, and it was not romantic at all. What Fiat did was wrong, but this was not the way to deal with it, because assault is never the answer to anything, whether it's physical or mental. It traumatized Fiat and will probably affect him for the rest of his life. There are 8,475,674,7,500 ways to deal with this, but the writer of the novel has always been obsessed with assault and non-consensual scenes, so I wasn't surprised. Disappointed? Yes, for sure, but not surprised. Considering the fact that Type is a victim of assault himself, he should have known what it can do to a person and would not have done what he did. Now, that's what Type, after 7 years of graduation, would have done, because that's how a rational grown-up will react. But it's been 7 minutes and not 7 years, so what can we do? Also, why is Type interested in Fiat's love life more than clearing things out with Tharn or making sure that he's doing all right? I would never understand. Type's dad is another garbage character. He's been complaining about the same thing since 5 years. Homophobia was never funny to me and never will be. He is extremely annoying and overbearing, and he makes me want to punch a wall. He didn't resist telling his committed son repeatedly that he should find a beautiful girl and get married to her. The worst part of it all is that he's been against the relationship for 7 years, but immediately agrees to it when Tharn's sister Thanya comes to visit. Why? Because she's his favorite actress? I can't get over this shit. Speaking of unbearable characters, Techno. I actually liked him in the first season. But again, they had one good thing, but they tried so hard that they ended up ruining that too. He doesn't stop talking and is clowning all the damn time. The last episode was extremely boring and dragged. I really didn't understand why we got to see Thorne's wedding for 20 minutes because I never connected with this couple. They had a total of 15 minutes of screen time in the whole season, but were somehow supposed to feel heartfelt and enjoy their wedding for the majority of the season finale. Shit's not adding up for me. Saving the best for last, Doc Champ, especially for Type's bald eagle. They were the cutest, most unproblematic couple. But we hardly got to see them because, of course, they weren't toxic, so why would we, right? But I love them regardless because they denoted hope in a way, and I always look forward to their scenes. Leo and Fiat were cute too, but only when they were on their own. The constantly crying Fiat hurt my eyes, and honestly, I was least interested, but I wouldn't have minded more Leo Fiat. They had endless opportunities with the side couples, but ended up taking advantage of none. All we saw was the same toxicity again and again on a loop. For me personally, this show was worse than the first season. It was a complete disaster. Every week I watched because I was one episode closer to the end. Mew Gulf are extremely talented actors, and I would really like to see them in another series again. Storyline was just not it for me. I'm glad this show is over because we really don't need any more of it, to be honest.
Who was would you be able to give credit to the person who wrote that? Is there a username there?
Yes, the username on my drama list is Chloe Moonstone, and 35 people found that review helpful. It is the top review on my drama list. So if you look up TharnType season 2, it is Chloe Moonstone. I didn't really agree with some of her opinions towards the very end of her review because I feel very opposite about Leo and Fiat a lot. But yeah, we've got to talk about the kidnap plot for Fiat.
It's crazy to me that in TharnType, the villain was a man who multiple times would kidnap and then try to gang rape or get people to gang rape someone that he kidnapped. And I cannot believe that that was the villain of season 1. And in season 2, the way that they resolve the plot is Type does the same thing. Like how, what? Like that just, I can't even wrap my head around why she thought that would ever be a good idea.
I don't understand it either. The whole reason why Type helped Tar frame Long is because he sympathized with Tar's assault.
Mm-hmm.
And even when Techno was like, "Are you sure you believe him?" He's like, No, I know he's telling the truth because he had a personal connection. And for him to be such an ally and a defender of Tar and trying to make things right for Tar, but then turn around and do the same thing to somebody because they're endangering his relationship with Tharn, no character growth. In fact, character regression at this point. It makes no sense. And they tried to soften it in the show by making it to where we don't see Leo sexually assaulting Fiat. Instead, they have like this kind of soft, like, please don't hurt me. I'm sorry. I would never do that again. But still, even if you don't rape him, can you imagine how frightening it would be to black out and wake up tied to a chair and afraid that someone is going to hurt you, maybe even possibly kill you?
Right.
And how you would never be able to go out and drink ever again because you'd be afraid somebody was roofing your drink at all times. You would hardly be able to trust anybody because you don't know who you're going to meet as a stranger who was sent to set you up for something. Like, and then how can you have a relationship with Leo once you know that Leo was an active participant in having you kidnapped and threatened?
I'm telling you, the kid should see someone. He's got some trauma now. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
He was annoying and whiny for most of the show, but he did not deserve that at all.
No, he didn't.
And it makes me hate everyone involved because Techno and Champ were just like, this is fine. We can go along with this. And it's like, no, fuck everyone involved in this. Everyone. They all suck.
Yeah. I mean, this ruined the show. Like, this was it doesn't matter what you do from here on out. This show fucking sucks. And it really is unfortunate that Mame is not creative enough to write around this because I actually really enjoyed episode 12. I thought episode 12, like the end of, I would say the second half of episode 11 and the majority of episode 12 I liked, but I could not get over this plot point. Like it wouldn't matter what you did after this. This is what you did. This
Right.
is what you did.
It's irredeemable. It's gross.
Absolutely. It's irredeemable. And, I wanted to be happy for the fact that, by the time Tharn proposed to Type, it seemed like Type finally got his shit together. Also, like, all the scenes in Type's hometown were so much better looking than anything else because, like, frankly, the apartment that Type and Tharn live in is the most depressing fucking apartment in the world. Every place they were at felt empty and hollow and echoey, and just, I didn't like any of their sets except for the beach sets. But then, like, I was really invested in Type's ordination ceremony.
Yes, that was interesting.
I found it super interesting. I liked the symbology of incorporating Tharn into that to show the closeness. I like the fact that, as he's visiting Type, he's proving himself to Type in terms of like, I'm completely committed to this. And also Type seeming like he's calming down and he's getting more centered and he's becoming a better version of himself. But you still engineered the kidnapping of somebody through being drugged. And that just, you haven't addressed that. You haven't gone to Fiat after being a monk and apologized and prostrated yourself before this kid and said, what I did to you is unforgivable. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking you to acknowledge that I did something wrong. And I know that I did something wrong.
Like, they made Fiat go and apologize, but not Type.
Right. And it's like, if I was Fiat, I would never want to be around those people because I would be scared and pissing my pants.
Right.
So with that being said, like, that to me is that's the end of TharnType. That is the end of TharnType. I really thought that Mame would ride around it because she never did figure out how to fix Kinkla and Techno in Love by Chance season 2. Like, even towards the end of that show, they were still kind of like, can we be friends? Can you give me another chance? Like, that wasn't resolved. But this one, it was so easy to write around it. It was so easy to write around it. Hell, even if you have to threaten the kid, you didn't have to drug him to do that. Right. You could have met him out at his university and be like, I'm going to kick your ass if you ever come near me again.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take all of that.
Right.
So, with that being said, strong 2s.
I can go with the 2.
Yeah. Because like I said, the ordination ceremony was interesting. I liked when we were in Type's hometown. I felt like everyone acted better in his hometown, except for the crying scene. Golf, you can't cry for shit. You're a terrible crier. But yeah, this was such a fucking waste of time. This is such a ruination of an IP, and I don't care about their wedding. I really, really don't.
We will not be tuning in.
Yeah. All right. So let me get to my Instagrams of the day. I'm not going to have a rant of the day because literally this entire episode was Samantha's rant. So what's the point of belaboring? My first Instagram of the day is JAME_PPHAT. And that is for James Bout. He is the person who played Dr. Kunpol in the show. And I just really liked him. I really liked him. I thought that he did his job very well. And also he's cute. So I wanted to make sure that I put his Instagram on blast so you can check him out. Because I think most people, if you like TharnType, you're already following you in Golf. And I gave you their Instagrams when we did our review of TharnType season 1. But yeah, it's JAME_PPHAT.
Nice. He doesn't have a lot of followers. Sad.
No, he doesn't. And this show did not help him. But I think he's cute. I want to see more of him. And I like him. I like him. He gives off a really good vibe. I hope he's a good person in real life because I enjoyed him immensely.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one, Mason's already following them, but it's Kaprao, who played Combe in the show. His Instagram is KAPRAOKIDAO. He has less followers than James, which is surprising because he was in Two Moons too, and he was in season 1 of TharnType, and now in season 2. But he's going to be in a new show, Call It What You Want, which is directed by the director of Two Moons 2. So we'll see what happens. Like, there is a debate in circles about which Two Moons was better. And I will fight tooth and nail. It's always going to be Two Moons 2 for me. I think that the director had more plot to work with. I think he did a better job in terms of direction, and there wasn't as much dead space. I feel like the couples had a lot more chemistry amongst each other in season 2. And the director of season 2 is a queer man, and he has directed several gay themed IVs. So he did the Present Perfect and Present Still Perfect. He's doing this, Call It What You Want. He did a documentary about kind of the behind the scenes bullshit that happens in BL. Also, he was the first person to speak up about how Motive Village was treating Earth from Two Moons to. And he kind of got the ball started in letting people know about all the behind the scenes crap that was going on with Motive Village. So hopefully, Call It What You Want will be a success, and Kaprow will see an elevation in his profile and get some more gigs because he's a good actor. He's a good actor, and he deserves.
Okay, so in 2 weeks, we're doing Manner of Death, I believe. It should be over.
Actually, I want to change that. If you'll let me.
Okay.
Okay, the reason I want to change it is because Manner of Death ends on the 22nd of February, and I feel like I need a little bit more time to watch it than what I have time for currently.
Okay.
So I will just put it this way, guys. I want to do Manner of Death, but I think that there's something more important that we need to watch, and maybe we might just do. I don't know how to. I hate that we're having this discussion on camera. Maybe we can do consecutive weeks just so we can fit in Manner of Death when it's supposed to be, and also do this. Me and Mason have to review Given the movie.
Oh my God. Thank you for saying that. I'm sorry. I was holding my breath. I was like, I really hope she says Given the movie. If not, I will fight for it.
So Given the movie came out this past week, and we already did Given the show, and I feel like
It's the movie soundtrack.
I feel like we have to do the movie because we're good for a part 2 around these parts. And so I wanted to do Given the movie. And so if we don't do a review for Given next week, then I kind of want to push back Manner of Death because I feel like it's more important for us to promote Given the movie than to promote Manner of Death. I feel like for most people in Boys Love Circles, Manner of Death has been the talk. People know about it. We're not kind of opening the doors for anything. But Given the movie, even though I have not watched it yet, I feel like it's something that needs to be more talked about. And we also don't do nearly as many anime type properties here. And that's something that Mason has really wanted us to do. So that's why I wanted to make sure that we fit that in. So if we don't do Manner of Death in 2 weeks, it's because we did Given. But maybe I can convince Mason for us to do a show next weekend so that we can still be on pace for Manner of Death. So
we can, Given as a movie, I was gonna watch it anyways. We can totally do one next. Ooh, depends. I might have a family call next Sunday. So we'll keep you guys updated then.
Yeah. But that was what I wanted to make sure I said. And so I hope that you guys understand, because Manner of Death does need to be talked about, and it's got a lot of material for talking points. But I feel like I need to give this to Mason, and I need to give this to you guys.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so that is it. Me and Mason have a little goodie that we're going to be working on after we shut all this down because we've alluded to it. You guys have said you want to hear about it, so we're going to work on that. But in the meantime, in between time, please stay safe. Um, COVID has mutated and it is now even easier to catch. It is easier to transmit, and it is a harder strain to fight that has been in the past. So even though the vaccine is available, that doesn't mean now's the time to let down your guard. So I encourage everybody, if you can stay home, stay home. If you have the opportunity to social distance, please social distance. If you're able to wear a mask, please wear a mask. I know that we are all sick and tired of this. I mean, Mason's been in the house now for almost a year, but at the same time, all of us have people that we love. All of us have people that we would die for. And if we would be willing to die for them, then we need to be living for them as well. And living for them means keeping yourself safe.
Well said.
Thank
All
you.
right. So thank you everyone for watching. Stay safe, and we will see you all soon. All right. Bye.